What happens when a chiropractor and a physical therapist get together to make a health and wellness podcast?
But chiropractors and physical therapists don't like each other.
Oh, think again.
I'm Dr. Kathy Lynch, physical therapist who likes to help people move and get stronger.
I'm Dr. Jason Young, an evidence-based chiropractor who uses humor just as much as adjustments to help people get better.
Welcome to the Pitch Podcast.
Remember, there's no I in pitch. Yes, and we're back. Okay, so I'm excited to find out about this Dr. David Newton. So we'll get to the intro here. Can everybody see him? He's on the screen now?
Yep.
Okay. This is our very first not in the studio guest.
Virtual.
And so thank you for coming. It was very expensive to get you here. So
we
I think
had
he's
long,
at
tough negotiations.
yes, many. I think, were you represented by Shadur Sanders people?
No, we have different affiliations.
Okay, sounds good. Now, so I actually invited this guest.
Yeah, how do you guys know each other?
We just met this morning. I'm excited to have him here because I follow him on like Instagram. I listen to his podcast and everything like that. So when I heard the kinds of things that he had to say, I was like, we got to get this guy on the pod. So
We must have him on.
yes. And also speaking of the podcast, things have been going well for us, Kathy.
We have about 3
million followers.
views.
No, actually, so that's what I was expecting. I was expecting this to be a very slow start, but we're doing better than I thought that we would. We're in the top 50% of podcasts.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm not even, I mean, everybody's laughing like I'm making that up, but I've been doing some homework. Yeah,
Okay.
most podcasts don't make it as far as we have, and they don't have the followers that we have. And so sponsors, no. So, why don't you tell our guests about David and let's get into the good stuff. They came for him. They came
did.
for him.
This guy's extra interesting. Today's guest is changing how chiropractors talked about. One rep, one study, one podcast at a time. David Newton is trying to start a revolution in the way chiropractic care is delivered, bridging the gap in chiropractic education and empowering chiropractors to deliver evidence-based, high-value, patient-centered care. He's not your everyday chiropractor.
No, he's not.
You will find out why in our interview with him today. He's one of the founders of Clinical Concepts, a coaching and mentorship program for chiropractors who want to deliver evidence-based N=1 patient-centered care. Some of this is even done remotely.
Okay, I'm excited to find out about N=1. Okay.
Okay, algebra.
Algebra. Okay, good. He's an algebra chiropractor.
Yep.
An algepractor.
An algebra.
Cool.
You
All right.
You got it. Okay. All right, David, one quick question before we get started here. If you had to describe your practice style as a workout move, what would it be? Deadlift? Yoga crow pose? Zumba?
You know, when I was thinking about this question, I wanted to come up with something very creative. And when I started to think about it, I realized the way that I approach chiropractic really isn't that crazy. And I think it's pretty straightforward. And I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later today. But for that reason, I chose the deadlift. And
Yes.
I want to get into this for a few seconds here so I can explain myself.
Do it.
I know all of us here, we've probably dealt with many people with low back pain, right? And we get people all the time that are afraid to do the deadlift. They're scared to do it. They've been told it's this terrible, terrible movement. Avoid the deadlift. I think when we can teach people movements that empower them, that give them confidence, it can really start to shift their mindset and ultimately, I think, their approach to care. So I think as much as I'm trying to change the reputation of what chiropractic care is, I think we also, all of us here, like to change the reputation of certain exercises away from these negative narratives towards something more positive. So for that reason, I decided to go with the deadlift.
You're the deadlift guy.
Yes. I love this guy. This is going to be a good
This
episode.
is good. And you know what's kind of cool about that is I remember whenever, I came out of chiropractic school thinking that the deadlift was a terrible exercise for your back, right? And so that's some antiquated knowledge. Deadlifts probably could save your life.
That's what we learned.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. It's the difference between life and deadlift. Yeah. That's what I'm going to now brand it as. Trademark. Okay. Registered trademark. Go ahead. No, but welcome.
Welcome.
That's a great intro to what you do.
Thanks so much for being here. Let's get right into it, though. Can you talk to us about founding Clinical Concepts and what inspired that?
And what the heck is it?
Yeah.
What is it? That's a great
Yeah.
question. It's not the most descriptive name of a platform, is it? uh, Clinical Concepts was born from my frustrations with the chiropractic profession. So, to give the audience a little bit of a background, I've been out of school for 11 years. I've been someone who has consistently had frustration with the profession for some of the narratives exist, for the way that treatment is performed a lot of the time, and I guess some other aspects of the profession that we don't have to get into in this particular moment. But
David, whatever could you be talking about?
we'll save that for later. We can't talk about all the good stuff up front, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Through social media, I've really been fortunate to connect with a lot of other chiropractors who I think shared my frustrations. And they were people who were looking for opportunities or communities to expand their knowledge to be able to practice in a more evidence driven way, a more modern way, challenge the chiropractic status quo, if you will. And because of these connections that I made, I came to this realization that as much continuing education is out there, as much as there were people that were really beginning to share great information through the social media platforms, there wasn't really a place for people to go to have a more structured education or structured community to start to bring some of these bright minds together so that we can continue to hopefully propel this profession a little bit forward. And I think that's ultimately what part of my passion has been, is really, can we shift the status quo? Can we get past some of these outdated narratives? And can we bring chiropractic care really into a more modern approach so that we can actually help the patients that we're working with at the level that they deserve? So really the platform was born out of frustration and my want or need to connect with other chiropractors who shared that same vision.
Well, and I think that what you're saying is actually really interesting because chiropractic is like generally not a very forward facing or forward moving profession. We spend a lot of times looking like back at like our origins and, you know, the old school and things like that. And so it's so yeah, there's some like old ideas that people just love to hang on to. And what you're doing is really kind of revolutionary because even some of the things, some of our sacred cows, so to speak, in chiropractic, you have no fear of being like, that's not so sacred, right? And there's just healthcare, really. There's just bodies and people, and you know, how you choose to approach it is how you choose to approach it. So it really is something different that you're doing.
What's one of those sacred cows? I need to know.
Oh, the adjustment. The adjustment is definitely like a sacred thing, and the reason to adjust.
Yeah.
Like I did a continuing education conference this weekend, and I mean, you know why I'm pausing. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Nobody's watching this, so I'm not gonna get in trouble.
Doesn't matter.
When you go to a chiropractic conference, there are a lot of like techniques and they're named after people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so when there's a conference and you see somebody's coming and they're sharing about adjusting and the technique is named after them, red flag, right? Because they're never going to be wrong. There's like, it's all going to be dogma, right? And so, and we love that. Chiropractors love that, you know, where it's okay to be like, look, we thought this, but we see this. And so now let's do this instead. And it is, like you were saying, it's one of the things that really holds us back. So what's Clinical Concepts do about that?
We have a couple things that we do underneath the Clinical Concepts brand company. One of them is a clinical mentorship for primarily students and then also new graduates. So that's a 10-week program where our goal with this is to expose students and the new grads to the information that they're just not getting in school. I think if we're going to be blunt and honest, the way that schools in the US are structured right now, the education that's being provided, the mentorship that they're receiving from clinicians in school and their clinical rotations there are a lot of barriers to those students getting access or exposure to some of these ideas that really lend themselves towards a more patient-centered, evidence-based approach. So really what we're trying to do is supplement their education with some of the ideas so that they can begin to think about clinical care through a different lens, even if they're not able to apply all those concepts while they're in school, which again is another one of their barriers, because I don't know how much the audience knows about what chiropractic school looks like, but as you're going through school, you have all of these board exams you have to pass. You obviously have to pass the classes that are within school. You have to hit certain requirements as you go through your clinical rotations. And a lot of the education that's geared towards those aspects of school, unfortunately, do not really align very well with, from at least what my perspective of evidence-driven care looks like. So we are really trying to expose them to some of these other ideas so that they can gain some confidence in that before they graduate and get into their first job and are overwhelmed by what that job is presenting them. So the mentorship is one aspect. And then the other aspect would be the online community that we run, which is for more seasoned clinicians or people that have gone through the mentorship program, where it's an extension where people get regular opportunities to learn, whether it's through guest speakers or we have live virtual calls each week. It's really a place where people can challenge themselves to learn and grow on a more regular basis, rather than waiting for potentially the continuing education opportunities that you just spoke about, Jason, that may or may not be helpful for them in their professional growth.
Right, but you got to get the credits.
You got to get those credits.
Get the credits.
Yes, exactly. Get those credits.
When you get a student in your clinic, what's the one idea that you really make sure he or she wants to have before they leave?
I would say one of the biggest things that we want people to walk away with at the end of the mentorship program would be that there's not one way to do things. I think through a lot of the technique systems out there, through the way that we're taught in school, things become very black and white. Things are very systematic in nature. There's not a lot of flexibility in the thought process. There's not always a lot of critical thinking. And to me, when I look at the complexity of humans, the complexity of pain, the complexity of all these factors that go into what we do, I think when you really become strict in the way that you approach things, we're missing out on so many different things that can probably help our patients. So from a really broad, step back a little bit here, I want people to continue to be open-minded in the way that they approach care and understand the way that you're going to do things today hopefully is not the way that you're going to do things 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road, and that you're always seeking more information and growth throughout the profession. But we very much don't teach a technique. We very much don't teach specific systems. I think more so than anything, we teach a thought process that allows people to navigate some of these clinical decisions. Yeah,
that's so cool. And I think I've said this to Jason before. I feel like our two professions are so really closely aligned. There's a myth that chiropractors and PTs don't like each other, but I think it's mostly because we're in the same realm. We're in the same arena. Yeah. And really we do a lot of the same things. We just kind of come at it in a different way. And, in our profession too, we have that, we have a big controversy over as far as evidence-based care goes. Like, is manual therapy evidence-based? Is it placebo? You should just be doing exercise. Exercise is the only way for people to get better. So I feel exactly what you're talking about with your clinical concepts. I think it's really great what you're doing for your profession.
And it's possible to do, if it doesn't matter the technique, right? Because I can do manual therapy and I can do that in a very patient-centered way. I can do manual therapy and it's a very practitioner-centric way. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Same with exercises. I could give everybody the same cookie-cutter exercises, and this is a really important space because it's under-addressed by just classical medical interventions. So where you're typically going to get a medication or you're going to get like an 8.5 by 11 sheet of here's some standard you said back pain? Oh, back pain. Here are the 6 back pain exercises. These are guaranteed to cure you. And if they don't, then I'm going to refer you to a physical therapist. Yeah. And so it's like somewhere down the line, everybody ends up at us because nobody's doing it like us. Let's go. And but I just want to address something that you were talking about in terms of the education, because I don't know if you know this about me, but part of my background is I used to be on the National Board of Chiropractic. I can't even say it. The National Board of Chiropractic Examiners. So, and I've worked with them like developing tests. I was on that board and everything. And so I get to see the results, right? I get to see what are people good at and what are they not good at. And we would have these discussions about like what really is important for students to know. And so there is a lot of educating to the tests, right? And I don't think the tests are bad because they're important from a cultural authority standpoint. Other professions have it, and so we need to have it too. We need to be able to demonstrate that people have minimal competency. But the thing that's really interesting to me, and I don't know, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I'm not on the board anymore. So what are they going to do? Fire me? So the thing that's interesting to me is that the adjusting technique portion of it is the easiest part of the test.
Yes.
So it is very rare that people do not get that it's rare that people do not get one of those answers right. It's like 90+%. And so it's almost not even worth testing. And so the techniques don't matter as much as all the other things that go into you being a practitioner. So the ability to recognize conditions, diagnose, conduct yourself professionally. There's a practical exam and everything like that. So it's good because I think there's a good number of people that, like you talked about your frustration coming out of school, that they wonder, well, like, what am I supposed to do now? And, am I supposed to like have these set care plans and everything like that? And so we kind of mentioned the N equals 1, and I've watched a lot of your stuff, and you say N equals 1 a lot. Like, you say it more than like anybody that I know. So, so for the non-math people out there, what do you mean when you're talking about N equals 1?
So the N equals 1 for me simply means that every person that walks in the door for me is a unique individual. So you were talking about back pain, or maybe we're dealing with shoulder pain or knee pain or whatever it is. A lot of the times it's easy to clump those types of patients together. Okay, here's my back pain patients, here's my knee pain patients, here's how I'm going to approach that type of patient, rather than having consideration for who is the person, and rather than just labeling them through the type of pain or condition that they're dealing with, who are they as an individual? Who are they as a person? What types of goals do they have? What is their prior history? What are their prior experiences? I think all of these things that make someone unique and individualized should be considerations that we have when we're trying to come up with a plan of care for that person. So the N equals 1 for me is simply a reminder that I don't care if this is the 1,000th back pain patient that I've worked with. There's still unique aspects about them that I need to have consideration for if I'm going to do my job at the highest level. So yes, I do use that a lot, maybe more so than anybody else, but it's a way for myself almost to have that reminder that to not fall in these traps of simply clumping people into these groups or putting them in these buckets and treating them accordingly. Everybody has something unique about them, and I think that's something that we should be acknowledging across healthcare, but more specifically for us within our space.
So it sounds exhausting, though. It really does. So, I mean, and you probably know what I mean by that, because I think we kind of categorize people and we group them like that because it's efficient. Like there's certain ways of practicing that are going to service most people, but it's not going to help everybody. And I think we've all had experiences where people come in and they're like, I was failed by this, I was failed by this, I was failed by this. And then they show up to you, and it would be very easy just to throw them in a bucket and like see if you hang out my bucket a little bit longer. But I think that you're right, though, that even though it's kind of exhausting to think about, especially if you're seeing a lot of patients, everybody deserves that. That is healthcare, right? Otherwise, you could just Google it. So
that's what I usually do.
Constantly competing with Dr. Google. I know it's like whenever I'm doing new patient intake and like I'm putting in all their stuff and everything like that, I'm like, all right, so just sit there for a second. I'm going to ask ChatGPT what a good chiropractor would do next.
Yeah.
So,
Where's the tibia?
Yes, I know. Hey, I live in the 21st century. I should get the benefits. Goodness.
All right, let's segue. He's got a podcast.
He's got a podcast?
He's got a podcast.
I thought he was cool.
Yeah. You got the ChiroShift podcast. Why start the ChiroShift? ChiroShift?
ChiroShift.
Chiro.
Yeah.
ChiroShift.
Yeah, the ChiroShift podcast. No. ChiroShift podcast. I've listened to every episode. They're all good.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we have at least one follower. That's great.
Yes,
Good to know.
That's
Jason.
me. And I got Kathy to listen to one. Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're headed in the right direction. I like that.
Yeah.
The ChiroShift podcast. Well, let's take a step back. Let's look at social media now.
Let's shift real quick.
We're shifting.
And how we can disseminate information. And I think for a while we had maybe slightly a few more seconds to hold people's attention through social media, but we've gotten to this place now.
Wait, what? I'm sorry, I wasn't. What?
Yeah, right.
No.
Wait, are we on a podcast? Wait, what are we doing right now?
Squirrel.
So back to our point, right? Attention is very short.
Sorry about that.
So I think there was a period where there was a higher capacity to educate people to some degree through social media, or at least provide some level of information. I think we got to this point where it's really hard to have serious discussions or provide nuance through that avenue or those avenues. So to me, I think there's a lot of topics that deserve the time, that deserve the nuance, and long form content is kind of the only way to go about that. And there were just a lot of conversations that I wanted to have but between individuals within the profession and other professions. We've had physical therapists on, obviously a lot of chiropractors.
Why?
We've had some people in research. Why? I don't know. It's a great question. But yeah, I think to just be able to dive deeper into some of these topics and give them the attention that they deserve, that was ultimately the point of the podcast. And if we had 10 listeners, 50 listeners, if it helped one person, to me, it was going to be worth it, because we are navigating this time where I think there are more and more chiropractors who are trying to practice differently, who are trying to move out of the shadows of what we've been historically. And I think they're looking for other people to have these discussions in public arenas to gain confidence in their approach as well, right? That's why I do the social media that I do. That's why we started the podcast to some degree. It's to give more confidence to these next generations of chiropractors as well. And from the patient perspective, maybe they do get some exposure to some of these different ideas, and now they become curious because maybe they've only heard certain things about chiropractors and that's turned them off from going down that path. I think we are a profession, unfortunately, that people either love us or they hate us. There's not a lot of people in the middle.
There's no middle ground.
No.
There's no middle ground. So I want to bring more people into that middle ground so they can at least become curious about some of these things, because I do think as musculoskeletal practitioners, who are both PTs and chiropractors, especially those of you who are going out into more cash-based practices and maybe have a little bit more freedoms in the way you're approaching things, there's just so many things that we can do to help people with musculoskeletal issues that can ultimately have other positive effects in their life and in their health. Where was our question? I'm getting back to the podcast, right? It's just another opportunity to have some of those discussions and hopefully create more curiosity amongst both people in the profession, but also potentially people that are in the public as well.
So you've talked to a bunch of different providers and with different practice models. What's the most unique and intriguing model that you've heard about?
I think the most unique for me would have to be seeing chiropractors go virtual. And I know practitioners that have gone completely virtual, which if you just have a general sense of what chiropractic is, that's
blasphemy.
Absurd,
it's blasphemy.
Right? we ping energy waves through the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got to tell you. So I used to be on the state licensing board, and we did have a case where somebody made a complaint because a chiropractor was adjusting people over the phone.
Okay.
And it was very much hold your phone close to your spine. And
No.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
Wow. So I just want to let people know, whether you're a chiropractor or you're curious about chiropractors, that is grounds for discipline. That is not a thing.
Don't do that.
No, please don't do that. So could you tell us, like, how does that work remotely?
Yeah.
Sure. I think for the chiropractors that are successfully working completely remotely, it's typically because they've niched down to a specific population that is probably going to primarily benefit from education, support, and guidance in some of their day-to-day behaviors or lifestyle modifications, things of that nature. But even
like
for the practitioners
one of your co-hosts does that, right?
Yes, Taylor Goldberg, she works primarily with the hypermobile population. But the one thing I will say is the practitioners that I know that are practicing completely virtually, it's not that they're against their patients seeing a provider in person either. So a lot of the times, if they feel collectively like that's going to be something that's going to benefit them, typically there's some level of referral source, or they're seeking out someone in the area that they can really feel comfortable referring to provide those services. So even though that practitioner might be working 100% virtually, that doesn't mean that it's excluding in-person care. That would just be handled by someone else. But the people that are doing it successfully, again, it's because they've niched down. And I think when we look at some of the things that become most beneficial in the way that we are approaching care for the cases we're working with, a lot of that can come from communication and just general guidance about the things that we can be doing, we as the patient, to be helping ourselves on a daily basis. So I think that's one of the best examples of how we are seeing success in patients, minus the manual therapy, which is of course what we're most well known for.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing, because like sometimes when first of all, let me knock over the microphone. I've really enjoyed the podcast because I think it's introduced a little bit of humility into my life. Like I've been doing this for almost 2 decades, and like I feel like I know what I'm doing, right? And a lot of the guests that you have on, they're newer from my perspective, but the things are so interesting, and it's like, so it challenges me and how I practice and my practice model, and so that's been really good. So I've gone into days of work where I'm thinking about things from the ChiroShift podcast, and I feel like it's making me a better practitioner. So thank you for that. And one of the things that this makes me think of is like, potentially maybe I have somebody in my practice let me back up a little bit. One of the things that gets talked about frequently is spending more time with patients, which is an important thing. It's the biggest complaint that patients have about healthcare is I can't get time with my doctor.
Right.
These days, you can't even get in with a doctor.
Right.
And so when I think about that, again, it makes me tired because I'm seeing probably more patients than I want to see right now. And I can't think of a way that I could spend more time with them and still service the community.
Right.
And, but like there might be place in a practice where it's like, okay, you have the chiropractor in your practice that is delivering the manual therapies. They're doing the adjustments, but maybe you have 2 or 3 other chiropractors who are working remotely and they're doing more of a coaching capacity, something like that. So I think that my knee-jerk reaction when I heard about this stuff was like, well, that's not going to work in my practice. But it's like, it's giving me thoughts. Like, I think you might be changing the world, David.
Well, yeah, go ahead, David. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was going to say, don't give me credit for that. Like, there's definitely people behind me and behind practitioners like Taylor who are really, I think, introducing some of these ideas into what's possible from a practice perspective. And of course, going through COVID, I think changed how a lot of us look at what healthcare can be and what is possible without seeing people in person. But I really think that there are ways to implement these things into practice so that, to your point there, Jason, like you don't feel like you're just running yourself into the ground because you want to spend more time with your patients. I think, even if you were to go completely virtual, introducing some of these hybrid aspects is really what's allowed me to buy back some of my time, because I was in a position where I was working with way too many people. And as much as the work was fulfilling, I was dead. Like at the end of the week, I was, I'm just trying to survive the weekend to have enough energy to go back on Monday morning. So for me, having opportunities to see people in person sometimes, but then also have communication and support and the opportunity to continue to work with them outside of the office with some type of virtual capacity. Like that's what's really, I think, brought more balance to my practice and the way that I approach things, so that personally and selfishly for myself, I feel better in my day-to-day life, because like I know, when you get passionate about this work, you do want to help as many people as you can. But, I was at that place 7-8 years into practice that it just wasn't sustainable. Like I felt great about the work I was doing, but for myself, it just wasn't sustainable.
And I'm this is my 10-year anniversary for graduating PT school.
Oh my gosh!
I know. Congratulations to me.
Happy. Do you want me to sing an anniversary? It's an anniversary.
No.
Do you
please.
know what today is?
Well, not actually today.
Our
But
anniversary.
No.
It's our anniversary.
Can I make my point?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
My point is, the more I practice, the more what I realize is the most important thing for treating patients is the education I give them. It's less about the manual therapy, the exercises. Those are the modalities. But, debunking Dr. Google is one of the best things I could do.
He's pretty easy. Yeah.
But that face-to-face, people, like you said, can't get in to see their medical doctors. And so they want to talk to someone who is an expert on the body.
Yeah.
And they just need to be validated. And so that patient education part of my job, I'm finding now is one of the more important things that we can provide.
I think you're absolutely right. And we need more ways to get that information to people, because I'm going to declare it, we have a healthcare crisis.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We don't have enough providers, and we have more people than ever, period. And then we also have more people than ever who need healthcare. Like I had a little health scare back in October, and as part of the follow-up, I was supposed to get in to see my general practitioner. So they made me the first available appointment in March.
Wow.
I was like, I could have been dead, and maybe that's the goal. Is like then we don't have to worry about him. But I'm sure that's not the goal. But I don't like the fact that people have to wait like a month or 2 months to get in to see me. And it's like, and the thing is, there's just not enough providers in the pipeline. When I was in chiropractic school, they warned us, there's this wave of people coming and we're not going to have enough providers. And I'm like, whatever. Like, I know people who are slow, and it's like, no, like it is here. And,
it's a thing.
What you're talking about, David, with like feeling like you're just trying to keep like tread water, like keep ahead of it. I think that's a really real concern. And it's a problem if the people that we have get burned out. Because there's not enough in the pipeline to replace them.
That would be us.
That's us.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the nice things about people who collaborate and don't feel like they need to be in competition. Like more than ever in healthcare, we need to be collaborating because we can't do it all. And so there's zero reason for any of us to compete. So.
Yeah, Jason and I share a lot of patients, and sometimes if I'm struggling with something, I will send him his way, and Jason can make the breakthrough with this patient.
Usually it's by singing. Do you know what today is? Yeah, that usually just puts them out of their misery, right?
Actually, I had a patient come in yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I saw my chiropractor for the first time today."
I think I know who this is.
And I was like, "Oh, who are you seeing?" She's like, "Oh, Dr. Young." I'm like, "Oh, great." She said, "Yeah, he told me you lost your license, so I shouldn't cancel my appointment with you."
Yes.
Oh, all right. You got another question for David?
Shoot, I've got so many, but like in the context of this podcast, I think that I think we might run long if I ask all the questions.
Okay.
We might have to do like a part 2 of this sometime. So yeah, do something interesting so that we can have you back on. No,
I'll work on it. Create some type of controversy,
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, let's get in.
So, maybe if we ask him. Oh, yes. Let's ask him this one from segment C. Let's get controversial, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we talked about like the past. So should chiropractors just dump the old subluxation sales pitch?
The sales pitch? Yes.
Okay, yeah.
This isn't even, that's it. Next topic. Yes, move on.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, that was easy.
I think that's
no controversy.
I think that's a good answer. Yeah.
No, it's a theory that has been around for, God, what are we, 130 years old this year? I don't know when our official birthday is. We're 130 years old. We'll just say that.
130 years. 1895.
Wow. Happy birthday, guys.
Thank you. Happy anniversary.
You guys are looking good.
Yeah, we're doing okay, right? To my knowledge, I don't think we've had any substantial research that has really taken this theory to a place that I feel like we should be using these narratives with every single person that walks in the door. I think it does more harm than it does good.
You know how long it took to debunk the original theory? It took less than 20 years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Honestly, like you look
what are we doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you look at the
Wow.
history of chiropractic. The original theory that D.D. Palmer had, within 15, 20 years, you had like 8 or 9 different splinter groups in chiropractic who thought that it worked a different way because the empirical evidence wasn't there.
Yeah.
Right. So, like if you look at like germ theory, in order to prove that germ theory was valid, they said, okay, what we need to see is every single time we see this condition, we need to see this bacteria. And every single time we see this bacteria, we need to see this condition 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And if not, then no germ theory. You couldn't do that with chiropractic in the subluxation model because, 100% of the time it wasn't adding up. Right. So it didn't even take, we didn't even make it to the Great Depression before this model was sufficiently debunked. But for some reason, like we're gripping onto it like it's the only thing that we have, and it's definitely not.
Yeah, and then I think that's a huge issue because if you just take a second to research something like low back pain, something that we deal with all the time, and if you were to spend even 15 to 30 minutes perusing through a handful of articles, I think we could very easily come to the conclusion that care based on the bodies of research we have available to us today should consist of more than manual therapy, and it probably definitely doesn't include subluxation theory in the way that we're going to explain it from a scientific perspective, right? There's just so much more that's going on. So to me, it's just weird that we exist into modern day and we hold on to these things, which I didn't know this 20-year thing that had already been debunked after 20 years, but
it was pretty quick.
Then it is pretty quick. How are we 110 years after the fact of that and still holding on to it, right? Now I have my ideas of why that might be.
Oh, I do too.
Yes. I don't know if you want to go there, but I do think as healthcare practitioners, we have a responsibility to continue to update our knowledge with science to some capacity, right? And have the ability to distinguish between what science carries more value than others. I'm not going to sit here and say that is the only thing that matters. We know that there are other things that contribute to what an evidence-based practice is. But from my perspective, research science should be one of the things that is guiding us in our decision-making process. And if we're not updating what we know from that on a regular basis, to me, we're doing a disservice to our patients. Because I think holding this level of education, if we want to be respected, that should require us to kind of be diving into that world, being the research world, on a somewhat regular basis. To me, like that's just what gets us respect over a period of time, is that we're not sitting in this corner just blabbering on about something that's been disproven for over 100 years. We're actually stepping into what modern healthcare is, for better or for worse, right? But what are the good parts of that? And to me, like there is a lot of research to support what we're doing now. And there are a lot of things that should have updated the way that we think about care so that we can best handle the patients that we're working with. And I think that's something we should be striving to do.
Yeah, and I think the answer is fear, right? That's why we've held on to it, is because there's a fear that if I have been telling people this for so long, I'm a first generation chiropractor, but there's lots of like second, third, even fourth generation chiropractors, and if I'm not doing it the way that this person did it,
Grampy can't be wrong.
Yeah, right. Then and I'm disrespecting them and I'm dishonoring them. And we fear what might happen if we discover that there is no subluxation, right? And I like to argue with people on social media. I do it a lot. I don't even know if I'm good at it. I just like to. But people's favorite things to harp on is the origins of chiropractic. Like, D.D. Palmer, blah, blah, blah. And you guys think that you're fixing subluxations. And then when I'm like, no, that's not what we think. That's what they thought 100 years ago. Yeah. But that's not what most chiropractors think. Like people just don't even know what to do with that. Like yes, you do think that. Well, okay, so no, I don't. And I don't know how you're an authority on what I think. But I think that people fear that if this turns out not to be what I thought it was, then I'm no longer relevant. I'm not actually helping the people that I helped yesterday. Right. But that's ridiculous because, and I remember learning this in chiropractic school. You had Lester Partner?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So when you go to University of Western States, which is widely acknowledged as the Harvard of chiropractic schools.
I heard that.
So yeah, they all claim that they are. But Lester Partnock, fantastic teacher, just amazing guy. He does this class, or did this class, at least when I was there, and he talks about basically how there's like these problems with the subluxation theory. And subluxation theory, just so that if people are listening, they're like, what is this? That's like the basic thing that most chiropractors historically have been like, we're fixing these misalignments in your spine. And if they get fixed, then, all your nerves are going to be okay and your organs are going to work forever and you're never going to die or get cavities or anything like that. So, but it was an oversimplification. And so you sit in his class and he takes this thing apart and then everybody's just like, looking at each other all uncomfortable, like, bro, I already paid tuition. Like, what's happening? Like, did you pay tuition?
Yeah.
Did they make you
Do
pay
I get a
before you
refund?
Yeah, exactly. And so then like somebody, okay, so like what are we treating? He's like, I'm glad that you asked. And then he like takes you down another path and then he rips that thing up and it's like, what is going on here? And it's like it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's one of the most educational things that you experience because that's one of the things I appreciate about the institution that we went to is that even though like chiropractic education is still not perfect, it's more progressive in terms of allowing you to learn things that are science-based so that we can participate in the rest of the healthcare world. And there's a segment of chiropractic that really wants to segment ourselves and it's us against them. But there's no way that survives. It does not. It cannot survive. Yeah, because you can't outlast evidence. You can't. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but I said a lot of words just now, y'all. I said them. Like, rewind the podcast. I said what I said.
That's what I said, and I stand by it.
Yeah. What are we doing now, Kathy?
I think it's time for Mad Libs.
Oh yes.
Would you like to introduce the game?
Yes,
Okay.
I would. Have you ever done a Mad Lib before, David?
Yeah, it's been a while though.
Okay, so in the rich tradition of our show,
5 episodes in.
yeah, we're under 10 episodes, and so we like to do a game to end every episode, and so we've created a special game for you, and I just want to do a Mad Lib with you. Okay, so here's how it works. I've written a little intro for this. Oh, we got to like write down the things. Can you? Oh no. Are you in the document? Okay, cool.
Where do you want me to write it here?
Yeah, that would be good. Okay, so just as he says them. So in this game, we'll be doing a Mad Lib with David Newton. That's you. He will provide words and we'll plug them into the story to make it hilarious. And if it's not hilarious, it's David's fault, not ours, okay? So we're funny all the time, and David is the new guy here. So if listeners laugh, David, you win. That's all you got to do. All right, here we go. So you're familiar with it. I'm going to ask you for a word type. Just spit out like the first thing that comes to your mind, okay? All right. Okay. So first one we need is an adjective.
Crooked.
Crooked. All right, that's a good one. All right, word number 2, we're going to need another adjective.
Curvy.
Curvy. All right.
I see a theme.
There is a theme. Okay, word number 3. Give me a non-healthcare occupation.
Plumber.
Plumber, very good. I was hoping you'd say plumber. All right. Number 4. Give us a noun. That is a person, place, or thing. I tried running through this with my wife. She's like, I don't want to do this because I don't know any of those things.
Don't call out Mandy like that.
Well, she knows it all. She doesn't have patience with me. That's the thing. So,
understood.
Yeah, that's a person, place, or thing.
Let's go basketball. Go Denver Nuggets.
Basketball. Okay.
Okay.
How about an emotion?
Joy.
Joy. Good one. Give me a body part, but plural.
Let's go pinky fingers.
Pinky fingers. Very
Wow.
good. Okay. How about a noun? Oh, wait. No. Sorry. A verb.
Run.
Good. Another verb.
Skate.
All right. A plural noun.
Books.
Books. All right. How about something you say when you leave?
Adios.
Adios. Give me a number.
13.
A celebrity.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
A verb.
Eat.
A noun.
Tree.
Okay, we got 3 more. A taunting exclamation.
A taunting exclamation.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. That's good. An adjective.
Purple.
And a verb ending in ing.
Sleeping.
Sleeping. Okay, very good. All right, we got them all entered. Do you want to read it or should I?
You read it.
All right, here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Here's your Mad Lib. All right. In direct response to the recent appearance of Dr. David Newton on the Crooked Podcast, the Pitch Podcast, curvy chiropractor and amateur plumber, Jason Young. Wow, you nailed it. Jason Young is pleased to announce the creation of this new academy in direct competition with Clinical Concepts. Dr. Young's philosophy is that all healthcare problems occur when a basketball becomes joy. Naturally, this causes all of your pinky fingers to run. When this happens, you can skate your books adios. Most patients are better after just 13 visits. Don't believe me? Just listen to this testimonial. My name is Arnold Schwarzenegger, and since I started working with Dr. Young, I can finally eat my tree. Gotcha, David Newton. Are you ready to help your patients feel purple, all while sleeping your bank account? Sign up for Dr. Young's Academy today. All right, I think he won the game because you're dying.
I'm dying.
You're dying. Right. So, yeah.
Where do I sign up?
I'm
going
to be sad if people don't laugh. I'm going to be really sad if they don't.
Yeah.
So
Listen, David, I'm going to give you free admission to my academy. You're going to get super rich, which is why we became chiropractors, right?
That's the only reason, really, truly.
It's mostly financial incentives. So, good stuff. You want to hit that? You want to hit that question there?
Yeah. All right. If you could put a billboard anywhere in the world about chiropractic, what would it say?
Oh, this is such a good one. I feel like I've gone back and forth. It's like, do you want to be funny? Do you want to be serious? Do you want to be informative? And I think when I think about this question, and I probably shouldn't have given this much thought, like this is a simple ending to the conversation, right? I think I wanted something that just, again, creates curiosity for people, especially the people that don't really know what chiropractic is. So what I came up with for this is we treat more than spines, we treat people. And I think that in itself, it's vague enough that's going to get people interested and maybe wanting to ask questions. And then here's the QR code, scan it, sign up for my detox, and I'll make lots of
money. Buy my supplements, buy them. Yeah. David, that gave me like goosebumps.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, I don't even remember what you said. No, I do.
Me neither. What was it?
Yeah.
We got to rewind it a little bit.
We treat more than spines. We treat physical therapists. So, we treat people. Hey, physical therapists are people too.
That's very true.
All right. So just to wrap it up, we want everybody out there, first of all, to subscribe to the ChiroShift podcast. High quality podcast, especially if you're in the chiropractic, PT, healthcare space. You will learn a lot. There will be things there that will challenge you. Really great information. I can't say enough about it. You guys are on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all that. Okay. So Dave and his team are doing really great work there. And you should also follow Clinical Concepts. I actually, right before we started, there was a chiropractor I came across on Instagram. He makes really great content, and I think he's over in the UK. And he made this reel where it was like he was talking about kind of a conundrum that he's in, where he's like, if I do a good job, then people shouldn't be coming back. And he's like, this isn't going to make money. And so I was like, you need to talk to David. And so David is helping chiropractors and other practitioners who want to do a good job. They want to practice the healthcare they thought they were going to be practicing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So definitely worth following. So thank you so much, David.
Yeah, David, this is awesome. Today. Thank you so much for coming in.
No, thank you guys for having me on. It was a blast, and I'd be happy to do it again if you ever want to.
All right. If we
Absolutely.
make it to episode 7.
Yes. Well, I think that so I was talking about the statistics earlier. I think that if we get to like 10 episodes, or no, it's over 12 episodes, we're like in the top like 0.5%
All right.
of podcasts in the world.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're there.
Most of them die in their infancy. So, David, do you want to, if people want to get in touch with you or they want to follow you on socials, can you drop your contacts? Like what should they be doing?
Yeah, Instagram would be the best place to get a hold of me. It's at dr.david.newton, and then our clinical concepts page is at clinical_concepts. And you can always DM me there. I'm more than happy to talk to anybody. I like when people have questions about what it is that we're doing. So I always make time to respond to anyone who wants to just even sit down and have a conversation. But that would by far be the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. And I'll put that in the show notes and everything so people can click in the description. Is your dog okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the mailman. I think the mailman's okay.
We were concerned.
Let's hope the mailman's okay. Cool.
So, Kathy, takeaways from this episode? Do you want to be a chiropractor now? Okay.
Yeah, that was my first thought. It's like, I want to go to that Harvard of the West.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Harvard of the West.
No, I love the way that David's approaching patient-centered care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's important. It's important for all of us on both sides of the equation. So thanks again. Appreciate you, David. We're going to sign off now. Be sure to subscribe to the Pitch Podcast. We're also on Spotify, YouTube, and what's that other one? Apple Podcasts. And let us know what are the topics that are important to you that we talk about. Leave comments, leave reviews, but only if they're 5-star reviews. Otherwise, forget you. We don't want you.
We'll get those deleted.
Yeah. We will just delete those. We paid extra for that, but no, it's a pleasure working with you again. And thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Yes. So hopefully we don't go watch the podcast later and we find out that nobody can see David. No, Scott's all over that. So clinical concepts, they do good stuff. All right.
Great. Thanks, David.
Oh, wait. There's one more thing.
Oh.
Yes, a very important thing.
Very important.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no I in pitch. All right.